Hey guys, Jason here with Damien, and we are back for more TCG Revisited, the series where, as the name suggests, we take a look at some of our old decks and think about how we might want to make them better. The theme of today's video, as you can see from the title, is Turbo Time. So the three decks we're looking at today are all aggressive ramp-heavy decks that revolve around the concept of going super hard on mana ramp and deploying big threats as early as possible. Clearly, there's a lot of overlapping gameplay here, and before we get into it, I also want to stress that I don't want these to just be variations of each other, I want them to be like pretty distinct. So before we jump in, Damien, what are your thoughts on each of the decks? What do you like, what do you not like? Because I was surprised by some of your opinions in previous episodes.
Yeah, these decks, I don't think I had much input in these decks. The Dragons was before I existed. And then I think Twin Cannon you guys were always planning to make, but you never made it until I joined later.
Yeah.
You guys had an idea of it already, right? Yeah, I think that one was probably my favorite, though, out of these three.
Twin Cannon, which is ironic because the Queen is the one that you actually did have input in. I feel like you just like Twin Cannon because it's kind of a meme deck if you think about it, right? It's just like Essence Alpha and you're just playing like several spells in one turn.
Yeah, it's like it's the weird cards I like, and Essence Alpha is one of them.
Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about the dragons first in chronological order. I think this is the most recent list that we have, so it's slightly different to the list in the deck profile. I squeezed in a Galc Life and I think maybe a second Bazagazeel. I think I don't really want to overhaul the concept. I like the idea of just going super hard on the ramp and then soul swapping in Velorica. But I think we should focus on the card choices here, Two fundamental flaws of the deck I see are that it obviously doesn't run smoothly. The high roll is not consistent as it could be. And I think you can also argue that it lacks the tools to get out of sticky situations. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, if you get rushed down, it's just unless you get a burst shot, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
If you're fighting higher power rush, then you're pretty much done.
Yeah. So, this may be a bit... Okay, well, a comment that we got on the deck profile video, which I thought made a lot of sense, is to squeeze in Volcano Charger. And so maybe we can potentially cut down on some of the nature ramp cards and squeeze in like 2 to 3 copies, or maybe even 4 copies, right, of Volcano Charger. Because, in a way, it's kind of a fairy life, right? Like, it's a 4-mana fairy life if you have no targets, but then if you have a target, then like it's removal as well.
Yeah.
Now, do you think Volcano Charger is too clunky for the deck though? Because it costs 4, right? So in the early turns, it's like what you're not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, but it's like it also depends on your first draw, your first hand. I think if you're ramping hard, it's a card that you're just going to charge.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like maybe jury's out on Volcano Charger, but yeah, I think finding a way to have it coexist with a lot of the ramp cards. Maybe it's like we play 6 of the 2-drop charging thingies, and then we make space elsewhere and then play a third. I don't know. Because I guess if you think about it, like it's good to play Volcano Charger alongside like Poisonous Mushroom, right? Because they kind of curve into each other.
Yeah. I think removing some of the ramp will make it a bit slower, but a bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Volcano Charger. Later in the games, when you're out of juice, kind of, half the deck is like dead draws.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe Volcano Charger can help you get back in a bit.
Excellent point. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about, so not just Volcano Charger, but Burst Shot. I kind of question the usefulness of Burst Shot, especially since the existing build runs Kokolupia, so there's some anti-synergy there.
Team killing.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, what is your thought on playing some non-hard castable trigs like Tornado Flame? You know, like it's a trig, and we don't plan to play it, but it's not bad.
Yeah, and it'll hit some of the bigger targets. Burst Shot is also killing all your nature soul swap targets as well.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So yeah, maybe Burst Shot can go. I guess it's just like if you run into situations where you are playing against the Swarm heavy decks, or you somehow can't get Velorica into Dolzark, and then you just get run over by these like 1 to 2k creatures. That feels kind of bad. But other than that, I'm not that sold on Burst Shot, actually.
Yeah, I think we were too worried about like Hulkus charging, Hulkus rush, and things like that.
Yeah.
The 2k attacks where our creatures can't trade.
Yeah.
So I think Burst Shot was the best choice, but then it's not really good in the deck.
Now, I guess while we're on the subject, but just before we move on to the consistency boosters, what do you think about cutting down on Dolzark? I know it's like very interesting because it's a way to out Tajamal and it's a way to out Pincer Scarab. And, you know, I'm sure there are a bunch of like other weird creatures, but like, don't you feel that it has bad feng shui sometimes?
Yeah, also like it comes in too early before the other dragons.
Yes.
So it's usually the first card you play, but then it doesn't do anything by itself.
Yeah. So it might be interesting to cut down to maybe like 1 or 2, right? Like I think it's because it's searchable, like it still has its value, but I think we just have 4 and then now we're on 3. So that's pretty interesting. I also like the deck is clearly weak to Petrova and light blockers, right? So I feel like Galc Life and the second Baz are like pretty important.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they're searchable, right? Oh, searchable. It's like we're playing Pokemon. Okay, so now I guess we've talked about, you know, what our position is on the removals, and we're interested in trying things like Volcano Charger, Tornado Flame, maybe even like Searing Wave, right? I don't know. But now let's go on to the consistency boosting side. So first of all, what is a way that non-water light decks can gain card advantage? Rumbling Terrahorn. So what do you think about playing a few copies, maybe like 2 copies of Rumbling Terrahorn? It comes out earlier than Velorica. You can search the Velorica, and you can search Tdad.
Yeah, and it's soul swap target early on. I think sometimes a few of the times when they hit soul swap as a trig, and you don't have 7 mana yet for Velorica.
Ah, yes.
Kind of sad. So Terrahorn's only 1 less, but I guess it's 1 whole turn. So
yeah, that's true.
good target. Yeah.
And it's also like if you play Rumbling Terrahorn on 5, right, on curve, and you can search the Velorica, then the next turn you can actually play Velorica if you have Soul Swap, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I like this. We're cooking, Damien. We are cooking. Now, here's a wild idea, given the conversation that is being had. Do we dump Coccolupia?
I think if you want to go hard on the mana ramp into playing dragons, I think Coccolupia was good for coming back because you can just top deck and play dragons pretty easily.
Yeah.
But maybe 4 of them was too much.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I always saw Coccolupia as kind of like a 4-0 card, but what if we play fewer copies? Now that is interesting.
There were quite a few times when I had like 2 on the board and they were just sitting there doing nothing.
Yes.
Because like a lot of the time you only have so much draw, so you're only playing 1 dragon at a time anyways.
That's true. Yeah, I guess with Coccolupia, it seems like the kind of card that it's like, it's good 20% of the time, right? Like 80% of the time, I feel like it sucks. But then the 20% of the time that it's good, it's really good. And that's what you remember.
Yeah, that's right. And then that's why we put it in because we just think of those.
Yeah. And also, I guess like discounting is not that powerful of a concept in the TCG. You know, like we're gonna talk about Essence Elf later, but I feel like Essence Elf is not good. That's why it's only like one deck, which is kind of a meme deck.
Yeah.
So okay, so I mean, I don't expect us to have the perfect list now because we need. I mean, this is the kind of deck I think that needs a lot of testing. But I guess what we want to do is yes to Rumbling Terrorhorn, yes to Volcano Charger, and then maybe to stuff like Tornado Flame, Searing Wave, even maybe like Apocalypse Vice, right? And then Cocolupia might go, and then we'll have to make cuts all over the place.
Do you think what do you think about the T-Dad count?
I think if we play Rumbling Terrorhorn, we can drop it, or we can like play fewer copies.
Yeah, because a lot of the time those are also dead trolls.
Yeah, that's true. This deck plays too many bricks. I mean, like if you look at it, we played 6-8 drops. What the heck?
Yeah, I think the T-Dad is good, but I guess this is like an all-in deck. If you try to play as much as you can and top deck good cards.
Yeah.
Play. I don't think you worry about hand size too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole idea of T-Dad was that if you get a search off Velorica, like, you know, you want to get your Bajula, and if your opponent tries to snipe it, then you can like drop a T-Dad. I think that was the original concept, but yeah, it's not the most reliable, is it? Yeah, I think we could get away with fewer copies of T-Dad, especially if you have Rumbling Terrorhorn, who is really going to hold this deck together. Oh, very interesting. Okay.
What do you think about Dimension Gate?
That is not the worst idea, but like in a deck that does not have ways to generate card advantage reliably, I don't really like it. Yeah, I don't really like it because if the reason you're playing Dimension Gate is because you want to hit it earlier on your mana curve, you won't be able to immediately do anything with the card you search anyway if you hit it on 3.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the early turns are better spent ramping mana, whether through the green guys or Volcano Charger. And then, you know, between turns like 5 to 6 to 7, yeah, that's when we can do the searching. That's just my take.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's either Rumbling Terrorhorn or Dimension Gate. But Rumbling Terrorhorn's better here.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good discussion here. We are off to a very strong start. So moving on to the next deck. We have Twin Cannon Turbo. Now, for this, by virtue of being a good stuff pile, I feel like you can argue this is the easiest deck to reconceptualize. But, like, it also requires the most amount of brainstorming, I feel like, because it's so open-ended. Now,
Yeah.
I think you may have been around for this, but, like, originally I saw this as a Bombazar-less Bombazar blue deck. So, basically, like, Water, Fire, Nature aggro featuring Twin Cannon. And then I think we could revisit that by, you know, we take out the whole Essence Elf engine or like the spells, and we just play the usual suspects, right? Like Hulkus, Bronze Arm, Soul Swap, maybe Ganta. And then not the most exciting, but probably effective. Do you like that, Damien?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that stops. It'll take away the reason why I like the deck so much. It becomes too generic, too much like the other decks.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because gameplay-wise, it becomes very similar to the Queen, who I feel like we could make the Queen hold the position of the Water, Fire, Nature, Unga Bunga aggro. So, okay,
Yeah.
I accept that
I think-
argument.
Yeah, if we were only looking at to make the deck better, then yeah, I'd go with the more consistent plays. But I think for fun, this is better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're cooking.
So many funny turns come out of this deck.
Yeah. Now, the big card that I want to talk about is a card that I quite like, which is Reap and Sow. So it's I'm not sure if you remember, but it's like a Fire Nature multi-civ spell, 5 mana, and the effect is you ramp 1 and you burn one of your opponent's mana. So you're effectively gaining like 2 turns in mana advantage, but no card advantage when you play it. I think it's really interesting because then you can use that to really disrupt the control decks and like punish the decks that don't ramp very well. And at the same time, you still curve into your best stuff. You're curving into Twin Cannon, you're curving into Apocalypse Vice, or whatever other big plays you can do. So I think I don't know. I've always wanted to build a deck with Reap and Sow in mind.
Yeah, I think that would work pretty well in this deck. Yeah.
And well, when I did some like very brief testing of Twin Cannon with like, well, you know, we're replacing a lot of stuff in the list that we see here. And I think that deck needs to play a lot of 2-drops still. So I think there's a world where we still play like Essence Elf, even in the Reap and Sow deck, which I think makes you happy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, right, it's discounted as well, yeah.
Yeah, you can play it on 4. Yeah, baby! So you're not reliant on like hitting Bronze Arm into Reap and Sow to play it early. But dude, can you imagine how obnoxious that is? Like you play a ramper or a discounter and then you play it on turn 4. And then you can play Twin Cannon the next turn.
Yeah. And if you went first, they'll be on 3 mana.
Oh my goodness. Maybe
they have nothing that they can do.
Maybe I don't want to make this deck. Yeah. Is there anything else that you think we could do to Twin Cannon? It's like, you know what we do is we cut down on Rumbling Terrorhorn so that we can put them in the other deck.
Yeah. I think this deck was one of the ones that were made pretty well. And when we were play testing originally, I think it did really well.
Yeah. I was like, why is this working?
Yeah, I think we were thinking of cards to put in. It was mainly the engine, the Instant Self engine, that we had trouble with.
Yeah.
And which cards to use.
Yeah.
I think we played around with some other chargers, right? But I think this was the best iteration.
Yeah, do you remember when we were playing around with Magma Rex instead of Burst Shot? It's so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like with Magma Rex, like, you're killing Essence Elf. You know, with Burst Shot, at least you're killing other stuff. But Magma Rex is only killing Essence Elf.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad.
All right, and for the final deck we will talk about, Queen Maiden. So we actually skipped through Season 2. We're all the way into Season 3 now. Now, the way I see this is Queen Maiden is the most high maintenance of the decks and probably the least efficient. But out of the 3 decks, I think I might like it the best. I think it embodies the spirit of traditional fire, water, nature aggro the best. So we'll use this as the vehicle like we talked about earlier. Now, the first card choice I think we need to question is, you know, because I like the concept, so I don't think we're going to overhaul that. It's the card choices. Judgment. I think we put it in because the roll compression is amazing. You can use it as a board wipe because the deck isn't quite fast enough. But it's friendly fire. But you get draw. So in consideration of everything, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's an argument to be made that it doesn't fit aggro decks all that well. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it does kill your guys, but I remember when we did some testing and most of the creatures you kept on the board were Jaspers anyways, and they go back into your hand.
Yeah.
So even though they are killing them, they're coming back to your hand. You can play them again next turn. But yeah, it was most of the nature ones that were dying.
Yeah. The soul swap food.
Yeah.
I think one of the other reasons I like Judgment is because it was pretty good. It was a good target for Poisonous Mushroom, like if you can get that in mana early. And it's it means we don't have to play so many copies of because like I play Judgment because I want to play Lucky Ball and Searing Wave. And so if I play Judgment, then like I don't have to play those two. But then maybe it's better if you just play a 2-2 split of those, right? I don't know.
True. Because this does break very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be something to try. I think we also went all in on the Judgment because it was the DM13 card.
Yes.
I wanted to show off more.
That's true. That's true. I bought so many copies, and I was like, these have to go into decks somehow.
To use them, we bought them.
But yeah, maybe like you could argue Searing Wave is a more appropriate inclusion. It also comes out a bit earlier, right? So if you get a ramp and then Searing Wave on 4, like you can not die to aggro. Because I noticed like this is really weak to the true rush decks.
Yeah, if you don't find the queen, you're in a bit of trouble. Yeah. Everything's just 1k.
Yeah. Now another thing that I kind of want to talk about is Energy Stream. So, I mean, aggro decks tend to be pretty creature based. Do you think we should be playing Hulkus instead of Energy Stream?
Yeah, more soul swap targets. I think. Would you play Lucky Ball instead of those?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we very well could. I remember the reason I put in Energy Stream is because when you play Poisonous Mushroom, which given the amount of multi-sieve this deck kind of always wants to do, you deplete your hand pretty quickly. And if you're waiting for Lucky Ball, you could be waiting for a while. Because sometimes this deck doesn't get off to that hot of a start. And so Energy Stream is there for you to replenish your hand.
Right.
But I guess you can also think about like, I don't know how early we put in Spiral Gate, but like, you know, you can like play a 2-drop on 2, and then on 3 you break, and then on 4 you like Spiral Gate, bounce a creature, break again, and then you unlock Lucky Ball. So it's kind of fine, right?
But also like, if you are able to get the 3rd turn queen down, you're activating Lucky Ball straight away.
Yeah.
Because he's a double breaker.
Yeah. I don't know how likely that is though. Especially because we cut down on queen.
Yeah.
But then maybe we play a 4th one again.
Yeah. Oh. So we swap out 3 Energy Streams for 1 queen and 2 Lucky Ball.
Yeah. And then maybe you swap out the Judgments for something. For like some Searing Wave, another Lucky Ball. And then there you don't have the too much multi-sieve problem. Savage to Aqua Hulkus. But I mean, like, fair enough, right?
Oh, I think there's enough bodies to soul swap off.
And then
it is a 2k though, which will help with policing.
Yeah, it's all right. Tag Tap will police. His power is unlimited.
Not true. If they're playing Hulk, if you're versing any deck with water, he's like insane.
And then, you know, another thing we can do is if we're convinced of the strategy of like, you know, we want to get Lucky Ball as early as possible, we can like swap out 1 Surfer for the 4th Spiral Gate, because Spiral Gate has early game value.
True, yeah. It's good.
To summarize, we're looking at maybe like you delete the Judgments in the Energy Stream, you put in more Lucky Ball, you max out on Queen, and you put in Searing Wave. Like, that's kind of the idea, right?
I feel like we're putting Lucky Ball in a lot of stuff now.
Lucky Ball is so good, Damien. I think
any rush mid-tempo deck could just like, play Lucky Ball. Just break 2 shields and you're good.
Well, you break 2 shields and you get to draw 2 cards. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I just realized, because it's like if you've broken 2 shields, it means you've given your opponent 2 cards. So that's why Lucky Balls draw 2. Oh man.
So it's even. Yeah. But then you can get more from other Lucky Balls, so so you have to play 2 or more. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Profit. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Wow. All right. So I guess before we close off the video, do you have any final words, Damien, about these decks or potential changes that we would do?
Oh yeah, I think the TCT we put in quite a lot of work with. Queen was one of the later ones, so I think it's still very fresh.
Yes.
So I'm not sure we've done enough testing to know what else we can try and things like that. But yeah, so that one's pretty good already. Dragons was the one that was like I think it's a fun deck to play, but if you want to make it like a proper competitive deck, it's going to have to be quite a lot of changes.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And I guess if you think about it, we are making a lot of changes to it.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're saying goodbye to Kokolupia. I can't believe this is happening. Maybe we just play 2. Maybe that's how we started off. 2 Kokolupia and then...
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Oh. All right. Thank you, Damien, for all your insightful feedback, and thank you, viewers, for watching the video. We certainly have some more TCG Revisited. I think you can estimate how many episodes we'll do based on the number of deck profiles we've done. But yeah, we will catch you guys in the next one.